everyone, welcome back to the Deep Dive. So today we're diving headfirst into the world of Argentine energy, specifically YPF.
Yeah, it's a fascinating case study.
It really is. We're going to be dissecting their 2024 annual report, the Form 20DF. It's their official company Bible, basically laying out everything.
Oh yeah, it's packed with insights. Like, you really get into the nitty-gritty of their business.
Exactly. Our mission here is to cut through the noise and give you the essential story of their performance last year and where they're headed strategically, all pulled straight from their own words. No fluff.
Straight from the horse's mouth, as they say.
Exactly. So to kick things off, YPF is what we call an integrated oil and gas company, right? Meaning they play across the whole field.
Yeah, upstream, downstream, the whole shebang.
Exactly. Upstream is all about finding the oil and gas, getting it out of the ground. Downstream is refining it, turning it into the products we use, and of course selling those products. And then you have gas and power, which is, well, pretty self-explanatory.
Right. And they're operating under this 4x4 challenge framework, trying to create value sustainably for all their stakeholders.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of their overarching philosophy. And a good place to start our deep dive might be their upstream segment.
Absolutely. That's the heart of their business, after all.
It is, and it's where things get particularly interesting. So in Argentina, the buzz is all about unconventional resources. When you hear unconventional, think shale, like the famous Vaca Muerta formation.
Right. A lot of potential there.
Huge potential. And YPF is heavily invested, but they're also exploring another area, Palermo Aike, in the Austral Basin.
Interesting. Any promising developments there?
Well, in 2024, they drilled and tested their first horizontal well in Palermo Aike. Now, initial production was low, but it confirmed something crucial: the presence of natural gas and condensate.
Ah, so validating the resource. That's always the first hurdle.
Exactly. It's still early days, but it's a foot in the door for them in that region.
Now, shifting gears to Vaca Muerta itself, what's the activity level like there?
Oh, it's bustling. In the Neuquén Basin, where Vaca Muerta sits, they have significant operations, some operated by partners, some directly by YPF.
And they're investing heavily, I imagine.
Oh, yeah. Big time. In 2024, their net investment in drilling and completion was $409 million US. And for facilities, another $367 million.
Wow, that's a serious commitment. Which areas are they prioritizing?
Well, for shale oil, it's the Lindero Atravesado and Bajada de Añelo blocks. For shale gas, it's La Calera and Aguada Pichona Oeste.
And how's the progress in La Calera?
They actually completed the first stage of their central processing facility there in April 2024. It can now handle 10 million cubic meters of natural gas per day and 4,800 cubic meters of condensate.
That's impressive.
Yeah, and they're not done. They have plans to expand that capacity significantly by 2027 with another facility. So, yeah, they're going all in on unconventional production.
Makes sense. So that's the high growth side. What about their more mature conventional fields?
Well, there's a shift happening there. They've decided to offload some of those mature assets. It's a strategic move to focus on those higher growth unconventional plays we just talked about.
So divesting to streamline their portfolio.
Exactly. They're also working on optimizing the remaining mature fields in Santa Cruz.
All right, so streamlining and optimization on the conventional front. What else have they been up to in upstream?
Let's see. They sold their stake in the Escalante El Tribol concession for $87 million US. That was back in November 2024. And they've actually dipped their toes into offshore exploration recently.
Really? Offshore, that's new territory for them, isn't it?
It is. They acquired a 35% interest in some permits from Equinor.
Interesting move. It seems like they're spreading their bets a little.
Yeah, it's a calculated risk. But let's move on to downstream. What's happening on the refining and selling side?
Let's explore that. It's the other half of the equation, right?
It is. So in downstream, their priorities are operational excellence and improving fuel quality. Keeping those refineries humming.
Makes sense. Efficiency is key.
Absolutely. But they're also thinking about the customer experience. They're even testing advanced food equipment in their full convenience stores.
Oh, interesting. So they're not just about the fuel.
Nope. Those full stores are actually a big deal for them. In 2024, they sold 217 million items across 2,000 different products. Coffee, prepared meals, drinks, that sort of thing.
Wow, that's a lot of snacks.
It is. They also have their YPF agro business, selling agricultural products through a network of dealers.
So they're diversified within downstream, too.
Yeah, they are. Although their fertilizer and phytosanitary product sales were down 24% in 2024. It's not clear why, but it's something to watch.
Okay, noted. Now, let's talk about their gas and power segment. It seems increasingly strategic, particularly with the focus on LNG exports.
Oh, yeah. The Argentina LNG project is their big bet. They want to turn Argentina into a major LNG exporter.
Ambitious.
Very. And they're backing it up with action. They've applied for export authorizations for 2025 and beyond, covering gas from both the Nupina and Austral basins.
So they're securing their export capacity. What about the technological side of things?
Well, their R&D arm, YTech, is developing some pretty cool stuff. They're working on simulations for unconventional reservoirs, low-cost measuring tools, even dissolvable plugs for fracking.
So cutting-edge technology to optimize production. All right, let's shift gears and talk financials. What were the key highlights from their income statement?
So their revenue in 2024 came mainly from fuels, natural gas, refined products, petrochemicals, and some government incentives. The report has detailed tables breaking down sales volumes and prices.
Sounds thorough.
It is. Now, upstream was the star performer with an operating profit of 1,980 million US dollars. That's up from 1,399 million in 2023. Higher oil and gas prices plus increased sales volumes really drove that.
So their unconventional strategy is paying off.
It seems so. Now, downstream had a tougher year. Their operating profit was 525 million US dollars, down from 819 million in 2023.
What caused the dip?
Higher operating costs mainly.
Yeah,
The price of crude oil for refining went up, offsetting the gains from higher sales volumes.
got it. And how did gas and power perform?
They had a great turnaround. Operating profit was 146 million US dollars compared to a tiny loss in 2023.
Nice. What drove that improvement?
Mainly their subsidiary Metrogas doing better, plus higher natural gas sales overall.
That's good news. So overall, how did they end up in terms of net financial results?
They actually reported a net financial loss of 695 million US dollars. That's a big swing from the 897 million profit they had in 2023.
Ouch. What happened there?
It's mainly due to exchange rate differences, the Argentine peso being volatile. Also, their interest income was lower.
Ah, the joys of operating in emerging markets.
Exactly. So let's look at their balance sheet and how they're funding their operations.
Okay, where's the money coming from?
They use a mix of bank credit facilities and debt capital markets, both local and international.
Okay, so a balanced approach.
Right. Their total lease liabilities at the end of 2024 were 936 million US dollars, with 404 million due within a year.
And they have ongoing purchase obligations, I imagine.
Yes, but those are estimates. They also invest in R&D, which is crucial for their future. More details on their financial trends are in item 5 of the report.
Makes sense. So now let's talk about shareholder value. How are they rewarding their investors?
Well, dividends are a bit tricky. Argentine law says they can only pay dividends from liquid realized profits approved by shareholders.
So it's not a guaranteed thing.
Nope. They can do interim dividends, but there's liability involved for the directors if the year-end profits aren't enough.
Interesting. What about share buybacks? Are they repurchasing their own stock?
The report doesn't lay out a specific buyback plan for 2024, but they did buy back $28 million worth of shares in 2023.
Okay, so it's a tool they've used before.
Right. They also have long-term incentive programs for management using company shares.
Aligning incentives with performance. Now, looking forward, how does YPF itself assess its future?
Well, they're pretty upfront about the fact that their business is heavily tied to the Argentine economy and regulatory environment.
Yeah, that's a given in that market.
Exactly. They list out all these factors like commodity prices, the peso stability, investment levels, inflation, government policies, you name it.
That's a lot of moving parts.
Oh, yeah. And interest and exchange rates can really impact their financing costs.
It's a volatile mix. Are there any specific risks they're worried about?
They mention ongoing legal issues like the La Plata refinery environmental claim and the Maxis Entities litigation. They also touch upon the potential impact of Argentina's new IMF agreement.
A lot to keep an eye on.
Definitely. But I think we've covered the essentials. We've looked at their focus on unconventional resources, their performance across upstream, downstream, and gas and power, their financials, and their approach to shareholder value.
It's a pretty comprehensive picture. A company navigating a complex, dynamic market.
Exactly. And that leads us to our final thought for you. What do you think are the biggest opportunities and challenges for YPF going forward? And what does their journey tell us about investing in state-influenced companies in emerging markets? Something to ponder. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely, lots to consider. Until next time.